So storytellers, I want to talk about what's going on in the world. Yep. Let's just get right to it. Okay. I really love this post by this guy, Michael Cleary. I'm convinced that the most fertile mission field right now is right-wing unbelievers. Right-wing and left-wing unbelievers are not the same. It's a naive pipe dream for churches to play the middle, offending neither left nor right in order to reach both with its gospel. It won't work. We don't live in a monoculture. We're going to offend somebody. It's only a matter of who and why. Right-wing unbelievers generally believe in God, have some respect for the Bible, and live lives that fall short of Christian teaching, but are nevertheless compatible with it. They have some knowledge of God's truth, and they don't live up to that standard. In other words, they are sinning against the light of knowledge. Left-wing unbelief is different. It's explicitly secular. If they do believe in God, it's pagan perversion that only bears a faint resemblance to the God of Scripture. Having rejected the light of truth, they've gone on to rebel against nature itself. They remind me of Paul describes in Romans 1, which is my favorite passage, I guess, because of its sort of modern covers all the conspiracies of what's going on in the modern world. They remind me of Paul, of what Paul describes in Romans 1. As people rebel against nature, Romans 1 describes their downward spiral into a moral abyss. When you think of a garden variety leftist, you likely think of someone who is openly hostile to God, Christianity, history, tradition, laws, norms, and the civil order. They wear moral anarchy as a badge of pride. Romans 1 completely explains what is going on in the world. Why trans for Palestine? Completely covers all that. It's amazing. Trans for Palestine is so ridiculous and so absurd. But Romans 1 explains what's going on. Therefore, God has given them over to all manner of sin. These people are some of the most arrogant people you'll ever meet. They have master's degrees and PhDs, yet they cannot put together a rationally coherent argument. Claiming to be wise, they became fools. Romans 1:22, Romans 1:24. They are emotional thinkers who have exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served the creature rather than the creator. This is evolution. Thus, they also, and it's paganism. Thus, they also exchange natural sexual relations for those that are contrary to nature. Leftists are full-throated advocates of the LGBTQ revolution. The left has also mainstreamed political violence. Watch videos of Antifa or No Kings protests, and you'll see a manner of unrighteous evil, covetousness, malice, slanderous, haters of God, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, or ruthless. Romans 1:21-31. Right-wing unbelief reminds me of Romans 2. Even though they aren't Christians, they have enough light of truth to acknowledge God, have high regard for the Bible, have some respect for the rule of law, and want to uphold natural law and the civil order. Garden variety of right-wing unbelievers are responsible adults with families and kids. Since we do not, I was just going to talk and I didn't even read all this, but I'm just so this is really good. Since we do not live in a monoculture, it is naive for a church to act as though they can play the middle to reach people on both sides. The left is clearly worse than the right, and churches who refuse to acknowledge this fact comes across as disingenuous at best or dishonest at worst. Churches that refuse to confront evils of the left will be offensive to the non-Christian right. So I'm just going to summarize the rest of this. Okay, so he talks about the right wing here, which is, if you do the right type of sermons, they're gonna be in. But the left wing unbelievers will be offended by churches that confront sin and calls people to repentance. Right wing unbelievers will be offended by churches that don't confront sin and don't call people to repentance. For this reason, I'm convinced that the most fertile mission field right now is right-wing unbelievers. Jesus himself recognized that some unbelievers are not far from the kingdom. Right-wing unbelievers are closer to the kingdom because their values are more conducive to and compatible with Christian belief. So right-wing unbelievers may not yet know Christ, but they still want to live in a Christian society. From there, it's not a far leap to explicit Christian faith. So I love this guy's take on it. And here's my take on that. You gotta appeal to the right. Appealing to the left will not work. It just will not work. You appeal to the right. You get right people, the right wing people in. If this is something that a church will not do, then I do not want to. I say get away from that church, because they're going to go progressive. They're gonna compromise. They're gonna fall into the hedonism and lust of the left. They're going to fall into the self-worth and self-congratulatory nature of the left, the evilness of it, the vileness, the wickedness of the left. When you cater to the right, and I don't mean cater like you don't cater to the right, you're catering to the Bible, and the right wing will come to you. They will come and say, yes, this is the right thing to do. People become right wing not because of right wing. They become right wing because of a Christianity, a moral Christian desire, a desire for Christian ethics and morals. People that go to the left are wicked. They want to be left. They want to be wicked. They want to they will go to, if you believe in homosexuality, you will inevitably go to the left. Now, are there some homosexuals on the right or that are becoming right wing or conservative? Yes, there are, but you got to tell them of their sin, and will be open to that understanding, and there's then hope that they will stop their sin. But I would never concede to a right wing gay person their homosexuality. I would never say, I accept you for who you are. I would never say that to a conservative gay like Dave Rubin or anybody. I would still say you're sinning and you need to stop sinning. You're a conservative, that's fine, but you need to stop sinning. And you're not welcome in the church if you're going to continue on with your sin. But they can be conservative, right wing. But they have. I noticed though that the gays that are conservative are okay with us Christians saying that that's a sin. They're like, okay, we agree to disagree, but that's okay. That's okay. But you cannot have the left though. They will not accept your saying it's a sin. They will not accept that. They will fight that, and they will go into your church and corrupt your church. And gloves need to come off, because we see what happens when the church isn't strong and does cater to the left. They become corrupted. And how do I know this? Because almost every church around me is corrupted. They're left wing, they're political, they're left wing and political, they're political. You're saying don't be political. Every church that opens up and is open to all, and we are wonderful to all because Jesus is love and love is love, they become political and extremely left wing, and they all are the ones all the banners of all the progressive churches corrupted all attack Trump or right wing slogans. They do it in a subtle, sly, but completely overt way they put up rainbow banners and stuff on the churches. They put up rainbow flags on the churches. It's conquered. It's like Islam. They've conquered those churches. They do it with a smile, with a nice, joyful smile, but they want you dead if you disagree with them. So so churches, you need to cater to the right. Not cater to the right. You need to just be, and the right will come to you. You need to cater to the Bible, and the right will come to you. Then you fellowship, you strengthen them, and then you go out to the left. You go out. You get the right wing in the right wing, I guess, in your church. You fellowship, and you get them to have agency. You teach them how to read the Bible, how to Bible study, how to join together as men, how to fellowship, and then go out into the world and rebuke the left. The way you convert the left is not really by converting them. You don't convert. You're giving them the message. They're the wicked, and it's up to God to convert them. You have to just create a culture, a church culture everywhere, including in the halls of governance. You have to take the church everywhere, including the halls of governance. The separation of church and state was coined back in Thomas Jefferson. Who ran the schools? Who ran the hospitals? How were the businesses run? Who ran the community centers or the charities where people would go for help in the hospitals? The church did. Today, the government, the state has taken all of that from the church, and the church has slowly and stupidly allowed it. It's time to fight back. It's time for the church to take back the schools, the hospitals, going into businesses, because they used to at businesses they used to pray. They used to have crosses and Bibles in their business. Who tells the business now how to run their business? The state, the Democrats, the left do. They tell you what you can pay. What you and I can agree on how much I pay you to work for me. No, the Democrats decide on how much I have to pay you to work for me in my business. That's what the state has become now. It is telling us everything in life, what we can and can't do. And the church, and it's yelling and screaming separation of church and state. Yet the state is running everything. I live in Hollywood, a Democrat left-wing environmentalist utopia. It is dirty and disgusting out there. I need to take video. I need to do this kind of video where I walk around and video all the disgusting, dirty filth in my neighborhood because of the utopian green environmentalist iron-fisted rule over this area. It is disgusting and dirty and filthy and homeless and closed shops and buildings, empty buildings with weeds and broken cement, everywhere. There are weird businesses that I don't know why they even exist there. They've been there. There's empty lots full of weeds everywhere in Hollywood, in the middle of Los Angeles, in Hollywood. It is disgusting here, and it's pathetic. And that is the left wing, and that is the church receding. There's only one or two good churches in this entire area, but all the others, like a dozen of them, are all progressive. They're all political, and they're pushing this left wing agenda. And we need to get the churches to be right wing. We need to expect that from them, and ourselves live that out in the church. Fellowship, strengthen the church, build the church, and then have the young men, because I'm too old and tired, but I'm there to help build up the young men to go out and fight for the future generations of this community, and take back all the things that the state has taken away from the church that used to serve the people. The church throughout Europe, throughout the white land, is dotted. I should really do I bet if I did a Google map, let me do it right now. I'm going to go do a Google map and show you something. Okay, be right back. Okay, what am I showing you here? I'm going over here, and I'm just going to zoom into an area. Or let me get a little bit more down. Okay, right here, church. Let me do a little search. So as you can see, there are churches now. There's little churches everywhere. Now, I bet there's even more churches, right? If I zoom in more, and this is in France or wherever, churches everywhere. Okay, so there's churches everywhere, and there's more churches. And I even got a map of old Paris. There's cathedrals everywhere on this map. Let me pop that up real quick. So this here is a map, an old map, 15th, 16th century of Paris. And just look at this. This is just amazing. The drawing of Paris. Look at the cathedrals and churches that they show depicted here. It's just like everywhere. And obviously there's the Notre Dame, and then they're just emphasizing, look at all these like churches and steeples of churches and churches everywhere. This was the land of the white supremacy of the West. And I remember, and I'm studying the conquistadors, and there's this tale of the conquistadors were really, kind of brutal to the slaves for a while there. And how do we know that? How do we know that they were cruel and they were doing that to the slaves? Because a friar did a report, wrote it down as a document, and sent it back to the king to let him know how terrible this is. The church is what keeps you and my greed and evil at bay. The church spread out through the land. The church is the sanctuary and bastion of freedom and human rights and liberty. And I'm Catholic Church, Protestant, whatever. I don't care. It's whatever. The church is what is needed. And right now in Europe, it's church attendance about 5% of the total population. So if everyone there is wondering why Islam and the globalists are bringing in their minions and destroying the West, well, there you go. Because you're not at church. You're not building a community of freedom. The pagans have taken over. And you 30% of right-wingers who are not Christian, or 40%, whatever you are, that swath, you need to get back to church. I don't care how much you yell and scream and organize, it's not going to work. The Muslims go to mosques, and the left goes to government. That's their church. That's their God, government, tyranny. You got to get back to church and organize there. You cannot do this on your own. Doing marches doesn't matter. Doing protests doesn't matter. The left doesn't care. They don't care what you say until you get back to church and get back with Christ and have that power behind you, with you, in you. The left will not be subdued. You have to subdue them through church. Church is your agency. It's your building. It's your group. It's your gang. It's your army. And it's an army of peace, and it's an army of men that you make, that you train, you fellowship with, to become virtuous and rebuke the evil that is out there and subdue the left and the wicked. You have to do it through church. You think you can do it through your organizing and stuff. It's not going to work because they don't care. They don't care about freedom. The left does not care about freedom. The left cares about power over the unborn, over you, over white supremacy, whatever their BS new line is. Their slander, remember, they bear false witness. They don't care. They will murder the unborn. They will bear false witness for their desire for power and to be as wicked people. And God wrote them that way. They're AIs. They're super AIs. We're super AIs too. We have the image of God in us, so we want to be storytellers and creators and do things, and we have an initiative to do things, an agency to do things. You got to go to church, and hopefully you support the pastor, but you make sure the pastor's doing the right thing, and preaching and teaching you how to read the Bible, to give you and the other men agency in what you do, in your ministries that you create together in fellowship, and then go out and build out a church community. So that's the answer to all of this. And because I'm just showing you historically, in Europe, in France, in Paris, churches were everywhere, and there was evil all around them, including the members of their church, including people coming into the church. But the churches where those good men organized to do better and do good for the community around them, and for the kings and the dukes, and to change history. Hanging by the nails of the church. So a church isn't a guarantee that evil will be gotten rid of, but a church is our bulwark, our sanctuary, our bastion against the constant flow of wickedness that we all have in us, and then those that actually live out that wickedness. So get back to church, figure out what you need to do there, hang out there, get a church that's local, but find a church that pulls this out and reads straight from it and then tells you what it means. That's the kind of church you want to find. So the pastor pulls this out. Let's see. Let's just go with. Oh, that was Job. I just flipped. Chronicles. I would suggest him doing more New Testament than Old Testament. But Old Testament is awesome. Trust me, it's awesome. But it just flips it open, reads it, and explains to you what's going on. In my own silly way, a pastor doesn't even need to prepare a sermon. If he's well trained in the Bible, he doesn't need to prepare a sermon. This is it. You don't even need to make up sermons or get ChatGPT. Just read from there. Everything in here will teach you something. Teach you, me, and the pastor something. No matter what you turn to, you don't even have to plagiarize other sermons. Just read it. Oh yeah, this means this. Oh, this is a part of this, and this is, and then what he's talking about here, and then and what they're explaining is what they're going through is this, and this. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's kind of funny, but it's like, I would just, I'm not a pastor, but I'm just saying, this is like, oh, but a pastor has to prepare. Well, what's wrong with it? This has been prepared for 2,000 years or 3,000 years. What's wrong with just, here you are, here's your sermons. These are all literally sermons. Here you go. You don't even just plagiarize this. So that's how your pastor should be doing it, in my haughty opinion. So build your churches. Build your church. Fellowship. And you're going to bro, mature in your church, because you're going to learn patience. You're going to learn others, their needs, your needs, refinement. That's what you need, and as opposed to like going it on your own and having that arrogance and that attitude. So make sure you involve yourself in your church. Figure out what to do. Don't feel like you have to do this or that they ask you to do. Try it, but you can say no. You can say no. I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing it. That's totally, absolutely cool. Make sure that whatever you're doing in your church, you're joyful. But learn it, patient, refined, not arrogant, not pushy. So, all right. I got more actually I wanted to talk about, but I think that's not for this video. The game of life, everybody. Go to church. Roll holy dice.